They say opposites attract.
Well, how about these opposites? Daddies and sons.
You're listening to Daddy and Son.
A podcast where we explore the dynamics of daddy and son relationships, multi-generational views,
And everything else in between.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, friends, non-binaries, theys, and thems,
And everything in the alphabet.
and everything else in between. We've been gone for a hot minute.
Well, you have been gone, yes.
How dare you out me like this? To this show called Daddy and Son, I'm Son.
I'm Norm. Oh, I'm the daddy too, sorry. and Alex has been gone for a long time. We're back though. We're back.
We're back for a cool 5 more episodes before we end this first season. It's been a really wild, wonderful. We've gone through so many different topics, but
And we always manage to come up with a different topic.
I mean, I don't know if it's managed. The material is out there. It's out there. As long as human existence is still in play, then there'll always
have
be
something.
material.
Yes.
And I just wanna, before we jump into today's episode, which is in fact a Norm production, I just wanna ask you how you been.
Good.
It's been a month.
Good. I've been riding my bike, enjoying summer, and we're still getting a little summer here in Toronto at the end of September. It's great.
Hot and humid as hell.
Yeah.
As hell.
Yeah, climate change has its side advantages, folks.
And we need to adjust the municipal bylaws. I don't know how I'm going to attack this, but I'm going to have to, find the right nonprofit organization to get the right backing to get this bylaw just being ousted. Because
What's the bylaw you're talking about for the folks that don't live in the greater
so
Toronto?
the municipal bylaw of Toronto states that all buildings that has central air conditioning that are residential should have the air conditioning on between June 2nd, and they should switch over from air conditioning to heating
On
as of September 25th.
Oh, okay. I thought it was October 1, but same diff. And yeah, we don't have any heat in our building. I don't have any air conditioning either.
No, I actually looked it up because
Yeah.
I was going to argue with my building about this. Then I looked it up and the bylaw was, they actually extended it for
But-
1 day.
Wow.
1 day.
Wow.
And
Wasn't
then
that
wanted
nice?
us to be grateful.
Yes.
There was a whole mob in the lobby because when the superintendent turned it off and switched on the heat, like the people were upset. And I remember I went out and I came back in and just a wave of heat just hit me because I forgot to turn my HVAC off. So the heat had switched over.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
Why they turn even the heat on?
what
Anyway,
is going on?
Anyway, for the folks out there that are maybe in 95-degree heat or cold, bear with us as we finish our chat about it. But you know what? You're right. Why do they have rules like that? If you had your own home, you could do it your own self, right?
Yeah.
That's the trouble.
I think common sense should prevail here, but
Or have individual allowance to do what you want.
as long as the bylaw exists, buildings are going to do what they need to do, not in the interest of human rights, but in the interest of saving money.
Well-
even though having heat on in the middle of September, I don't know if that's much energy saving.
Well,
but
climate change is going to affect a lot of different things, including when you can turn the air conditioning off and on. By the way, this coffee, speaking of what we're drinking, folks, not only do we have great wine here, but Alex makes, I asked for a coffee. Did I get, what was this production? This is beautiful.
oh, this is when I was in Australia, I took they make some of the best coffees in the world, ironically, and I took a flat white making class, and so which was invented in Australia. So I took a flat white making class, which is where I learned how to do that.
That's
And yeah, I
It's
don't drink
Australian
coffee,
coffee.
but it's always nice when I have guests over to make them a very decent flat white, and just give them that restaurant style
Well,
quality coffee.
perhaps we could put a picture of the coffee that I took before I drank it on our little website or on our thing, and people can enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
And
yeah.
we'll do it for the social media.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it for the gram. Well, what is today's topic?
I thought we would talk about, and it's not exactly an upper type topic, the topic of loneliness. And the reason I picked that is I've just been reading a lot about it in the regular press the last little while, and how it is infused in society. And I thought, really? Maybe that's something we should talk about here within the context of gays and older, younger, whatever. And I thought, yeah, why not? We haven't hit that one, and like I said, it's kind of a bit of a downer type topic, but there are a lot of people dealing with loneliness.
Well, you know what? I always think that certain topics, such as like death or
Taxes.
loneliness or taxes, they're not sexy, but they're necessary.
And people deal with those things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the time, every day. There are things that we shouldn't be pushing under the rug. We should be getting through it, you know? So, what are your thoughts?
Well,
What have you been reading?
well, I've been reading a lot of stuff now. Frankly, I've forgotten what I've read because I read it a while ago, but it brought up a lot of questions. And that is, one is, are gay men more likely to be lonely than straight men? In other words, is loneliness more of a problem in the gay world than in the so-called straight world? And is there a difference between being lonely and being alone? I think there are a lot of people in the gay world, a lot of single men, a lot of us are single. Most people are not hooked up.
Yeah.
You know, how do those of us who live, some of us live, most of us who are single live on our own? Not entirely.
Yeah.
Older folks, probably more dads who are single live alone than more sons who are single live alone at this point in their lives because of housing costs and all that stuff. Are the older folks more likely to be lonely than the younger ones? I don't know. I really like to hear from people, but I suspect.
What are your thoughts?
I think loneliness is a function of where your spirit and your mind is at with respect to people around you, whether you live with them or not. So, while I think maybe it's more prevalent among older men, I think there's a lot of lonely young people too. Because especially if you're young, let's put it this way. When I was coming out, there were not the social supports that there are today for younger gay men. In other words, when you don't have any social support, when you're perceived as being an outlier, that is going to contribute to loneliness. And frankly, a younger person is probably more likely to hit that because it's new for them. Mm-hmm. Especially if you grow up in a culture, and let's face it, some of our listeners don't live in North American culture where it's more likely to be accepted to be gay, but where it isn't accepted to be gay, I think loneliness is going to be a very difficult issue, especially for young people.
Yeah, that part.
So anyway, it's not a great topic, but I thought we should talk about it. And from a personal experience, I'll just say, you know what? Every now and then I get lonely for very small periods of time, like literally an hour or two, and then it's gone. And it's usually just because I know other people are doing things that I wish I could be part of at the time, and I'm not, like Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinners, that kind of stuff. When you kind of remember the days when you got together with your family. And if you don't have people to socialize with on those occasions, you might feel a little bit alone. I don't sometimes have things to do, sometimes I don't. But those are the kind of times when I've felt not only just alone, but sometimes I felt lonely, but not for very long. It's something for me that passes quickly. For others, it may be something that's more, they live with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, my question for you in that moment would be, are you lonely in that moment then, or is it just, are you alone.
I'm
And
probably more alone and more aware of the fact that,
and hyper aware of being alone.
yeah,
Because I think
right on. It's hyper awareness in those moments.
it's hyper awareness. I think loneliness is really a state of mind.
Exactly. I agree with you.
I think it's a state of mind, whereas being alone is a reality.
It's a function of where you are in relation to other people physically, almost,
Of course.
at that time. Like,
An absolute
my friends
reality.
are away. My friends are away for 2 weeks. I miss them, or they're out at dinner, or whatever it is. I wasn't invited to a party. I just kind of sorry.
I see you jumping
Uh-oh,
jigs, but that's
yeah,
fine.
okay,
So
that's-
we-
I didn't
we've been
feel
throwing
long-
shade all day.
Yes,
at
yes.
each other.
Alex and I are catching up on shade throwing, folks. That's fine. You've missed some of it before we signed on, but we're catching up now that we're on air. But it's all in good fun. And I guess the question is, how do you deal with somebody who you know is lonely, or is dealing with stuff that loneliness is a part of what they're experiencing? And it's not necessarily I'm always lonely.
Yeah.
But there's some people out there that don't have the supports they need. And you and I know people like that who you think, how do you help those people?
Well, I think it depends from person to person.
Mm-hmm.
You see, there's so many different components to this topic of loneliness. And yes, I do believe that gay loneliness is definitely quite prevalent. I don't know if it's more so than straight people, but inherently, I will say it is. I don't know that. Statistically,
Correct.
I will say I don't know. But I would say inherently, I believe it is. And I'll tell you why. Because they're already a small minority group, right, of the greater population, and an ostracized minority group. It is very much possible that the feeling of loneliness and relatively in conjunction with that being alone
Yes.
is something that is quite prevalent. As we're sitting here and I'm thinking about it now, a lot of my friends who are sexagenarians or demicentenarians, they are, not all, but a lot of them are single men.
For those of us that don't know Roman numerals, people in their 70s and 90s.
People in their 60s and their 50s.
Oh, sorry. That's why I failed math. But anyway.
It's when I think about it.
So they're lonely. You're saying they're more lonely. You've noticed them.
They're alone.
They are alone. Correct.
They're highly dependent on filling that gap of feeling of community, of feeling comfort and care. Very surface level. It is extremely topical. Extremely topical. Hear me out. I'm not calling, and to all my friends who are of that age bracket that are listening, this is not me calling anyone out. Mm-hmm. But I've had friends of that age bracket who have said, I don't know if I want to be in a long-term relationship anymore. Or I don't know if I want to live with someone anymore. But these are the same people. Granted, oftentimes they would be the ones who are out and about. They're on this. They're enjoying the sidewalk. They're out on Church Street. They're very social, as they should be.
Mm-hmm.
But when
they're good at reaching out to meet their social needs.
They're good at reaching out to meeting their social needs
independently.
Correct.
Yeah.
But people have lives independent of you.
Yes.
When I say you, I'm talking about you, the people in which I'm that are the subject of this matter. People have lives independent of that. And so
you can't always interact with that.
And you cannot always interact. And I've physically seen how this has affected people
Ooh.
who are close to me,
Okay.
both here and abroad, especially some of my Caribbean friends.
Well, tell me more. Well, how do they?
My
How do
older
you feel?
Caribbean friends,
Yeah.
I've seen who they're already living in a marginalized society.
Yeah.
I see how this has affected their psychological health.
Okay.
I've seen it because humans, I mean, everything is not in a vacuum.
But we need community.
Humans they need community.
Yeah.
We
We're programmed that way.
we are social creatures.
Exactly.
By nature. We are not antisocial creatures. We are pack animals. We're not like tigers. We don't or pumas. We don't live in a jungle by ourselves. I mean, we live in a concrete jungle, but definitely not by ourselves. And as much as many people, even if you're introverted, and I can say this for myself because I am introverted.
Sorry, I beg to differ with that. For those of you out there who are listening to us, Alex is the very last person to be considered introverted, but we digress.
I get lots of invitations, I'll say that. But would I rather stay home, watch a movie, read a book, play video games, and eat yummy baked goods? Absolutely.
But you go out a lot.
But I do go out.
And you travel more than anybody I know, or at least as much as I used to travel when I was your age.
But I've seen how it affects their psychological health, and that's why I believe that the answer for this is somewhere in between.
Well, the answer for this seems to be you got to take responsibility for managing the problem of loneliness as it may be in your life, given that you're already at some disadvantages socially.
I do agree with that. Yes, and a big part of that is people have to be honest with their needs. A lot of people aren't being honest with their needs, and I don't know why. I don't know who it's for, who is being smited or spited in this situation. If you're putting yourself at I've had friends, one of my really good friends who currently lives in Australia. We were speaking recently, and they were saying to me how they're considering getting a baby, but he's single.
How old is he?
He's in his early 40s.
Wow.
42, and he is in the process of having a surrogate baby with a woman in Mexico. And we're talking about it, and he was asking me if I'd be interested in being the godfather. And I said to him, it's possible, it's doable to raise a child by yourself. I know it takes a village, but it's doable. It is doable, especially if you have the real estate and you have the finances. However...
And if you're 25 years old versus 45 years old.
Oh, that's true too. But there is more to this. And a lot of people always seem to dismiss the psychological component. Much like you say, there are milestones, there are things happening, there are moments where you want to just celebrate and jump and share things with people.
And you can't.
And you can't.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting
Those moments do matter.
They hit you and they hurt. They hurt inside.
Critical moments can shape how you perceive the world, how you perceive your loved ones, how you perceive your friends. And oftentimes, it has nothing to do with you, but it's human nature for us to oftentimes internalize things. And a good case in point, we see this all the time, straight or gay. We see this all the time. Mr. Trump didn't just decide to run for power because he...
Run for power, yes. Sorry, that was president or power, yes, you're right.
Chase power because, he's always had a penchant for public office, and he's
in it for himself.
He did this out of revenge. Let's call it. All happened at that state dinner where where Obama made that joke. Emotions can really make or break people in a small moment, and it can change the trajectory of someone's life.
Well, I think the question then becomes, how do you deal with this? And I guess in my own life, I find the way to get out of a lonely funk or an alone funk is to start reaching out to people and talking. And the nice thing about the internet, the nice thing about apps, the nice thing is you can talk to people in a much greater area of the world today than you could 30 years ago. I mean, I remember living in Ottawa in my early 40s and thinking, God, this is a lonely place. Well, if I lived there today with the connections I have, many of which are virtual, they actually can solve some of the loneliness issues. If you develop, and you can develop some good relationships virtually. A lot of your friends, you know them, but you've got friends all over the world. I know you've probably met most of them. A lot of the people I know all over the world, I've never met them. I may never meet them. I don't know. I don't have as many frequent flyer points as you do, but we'll leave that one aside for now.
The broadband is great, but the bandwidth is small. I think it's quite saturated. I don't quite agree with that, especially as a child of the technology age. I think because of the heavy saturation, people have become very numb. They have lost certain social graces, certain mannerisms, certain etiquette that is usually presented in social situations because they are behind a screen.
Okay, you're talking virtual here. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether that is people who have decided that they are going to not. Let me put it this way.
I know what you're saying.
If you were in a conversation with someone that you met at a bar, even if it's a gay bar, would you, within the first 3 seconds of meeting them, take your penis out and show them your penis?
Okay, I get your point.
No. But the girlies are out here doing this, like you, and it could be just a regular non-grinderish app. And the girls will be out here and you say hi, and they say hi, and they're flashing you with a dick pic.
Or nothing, or no pic at all. 9 times out of 10, you don't know who you're talking to.
Nothing from the head up, nothing from the chest up. It's like, okay, nice little head. It's nice to see you.
So you're right. There's no social graces in a lot of the internet app world.
And think about it. It's harassment. If you would be in the supermarket and you say hello to someone and they'll take out their dick and flash it in your face, that would be sexual harassment. It's the same thing if you're on Grindr and someone does it, in my opinion. And I know I'm going to get crucified for this in the comment section.
I don't disagree with that, but you can dispose of that very quickly in a virtual setting. You just block or
instant
dismiss.
block. Yes.
You can. What I'm talking about is the quality relationships that I have developed over years, in some cases, with people.
That you've met online.
That I met online. Some I met 15 years ago that I keep in touch with. And we have a friendship.
And that's fair.
And there aren't a lot of those.
There aren't a lot.
There's a half a dozen, 6 or 7 of those.
And this is why I say the broadband is wide, but the bandwidth is small.
The bandwidth being?
The distribution of quality
okay.
that you can get from, the medium. I just think the investment is not worth the ROI.
Well, it depends on the person. Maybe somebody's more inclined to want to be able to sit at home and watch the movie and text and chit chat, and they're quite happy with that. There are people like that.
I guess
that's why you're not an introvert.
There are 1 and 2. I myself personally, much like yourself, I have met 1 or 2, but even though I have met 1 or 2 of those quality people that I could build a relationship, build a friendship with, I have, and this is partially also my line of work, but I have fully decided, and And until I'm proven otherwise, I fully decided that the output that I give to being, in that
Virtually
virtual
available isn't
space,
worth the ROI
it's
socially.
not worth the
Okay,
ROI.
that is
And
a
for those
really,
of us who
that's an interesting point, Alex.
ROI is return on investment.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth, because you haven't received from them
Oftentimes
your emotional needs met, or they don't
Exactly.
understand you, or they don't respond, or they're talking at a very superficial level.
nobody it's so superficial, and no one is willing to break beyond the barrier of being superfluous. Nobody's willing
And-
to meet up in person and have a coffee. Nobody's willing, and these days, or
That's true, and you ask people to meet, and they have so many excuses. I mean,
it is, and I get that we have life, but I think it was Michelle Obama who said that we don't know how to do friendship anymore.
oh, that's a good one. That's what we should have called this one. This is what we should call it.
That's what we're gonna name this one. Let me put it in the
what are we gonna call
in the
it?
chat. We don't know how to do friendships anymore.
That's a good one.
We-
We kind of branch off to another.
People don't. They've
And that is the solution to the loneliness and aloneness, is how do you build friendships within the gay world,
or relationships.
or relationships of any kind. That is how you overcome the problems of loneliness and aloneness. Now, if you're lucky and you can get some satisfaction out of virtual friendships, great. But you know what? That really doesn't cut it ultimately.
No,
It doesn't cut it. It's good for a Tuesday night when everybody's out and nothing's going on. But Friday night, honey, I want to do something with somebody.
I want to dance with somebody.
And it's normal and
I
human
want
to
to
want
feel
to do
the
that.
heat.
And you know
All
what?
right.
We got to manage. Everybody's got to sit down and say, okay, how am I going to deal with that issue? And you've got to deal with it. I mean, I've started to reach out a bit more. I'm getting involved in a church. I wasn't involved in a church for several years. I'm finding some of that helps. I'm doing cycling. I'm finding a couple of people to cycle
It's
with.
funny you should mention that, because I came across, doing some readings for this week's podcast. I came across a Reddit post.
I think you did more homework for this than I did.
Spoke about faith-based loneliness in the gay community, and you know what? That is a good segue. So let's take a quick break.
Faith-based loneliness. Oh,
Faith-based loneliness in the queer community. So let's take a quick break,
Okay.
and then we'll discuss that. Honestly, one of the most heartbreaking things about being gay can be the lack of empathy I see from other gay men when it comes to the topic of issues with catty mean girls in the community, general loneliness among gay men. I feel like whether this issue gets brought up in any capacity inside of the community, you will inevitably have someone try to say that depression stemming from you feeling socially isolated from gay men comes from a place of entitlement of men's bodies and doing the whole "you're not entitled to sex or a relationship" spiel. It's almost like the idea of men having carnal desires is something that's inherently taboo that you're expected not to express. I feel like that we're really doing each other no favors when gay men who are legitimately depressed and suicidal over feeling lonely or not attractive enough and isolated from gay spaces feel as if they have nowhere to go for support without people automatically assuming the worst of them. So,
Can you kind of? I'm having trouble getting my arm around what exactly the point is there.
So, in essence,
Yeah.
he's basically saying that if he, I think I understand where he's going about this. So this seems like it's probably written by an older person. I don't know, because usually people say their age or whatever, but he's saying that a lot of persons in the community are very catty and they're mean. And so they will, if you speak about being lonely or being ostracized in the community for whatever reason, people say, oh, it always goes back to a body shame issue. And, him saying, oh, I deserve love regardless of how I look. People will say, yes, you may think you deserve love, but you're not entitled to sex or relationship.
Okay, well, hold on. This person is complaining about the environment. My point is, yes, it's there. It's not very kind. You've got to go and find the avenues, the people that will treat you in a way that supports you, values you, makes you feel part of something bigger than yourself. And you can't sit on your butt and complain about being, I'm old and I'm not attractive anymore, when there are outlets for you to find meaning and socialization, get your socialization needs met. And you got to work at that. And it takes effort. And I'm just saying, we're all various degrees of success in finding it.
I understand the writer's perspective.
Yeah.
Because as they said in the first couple sentences, there's a lack of empathy around this. Oftentimes when people who and this because I'm attracted to people regardless of age, regardless of nationality, regardless of ethnicity.
You're a totally. That's why you are not an introvert. You are an absolute extrovert. You are open to people. You have a lot of friends.
But I'm attracted to people not just only based on. I mean, looks do matter. You must be attractive. You must find someone attractive. But I'm also attracted to people based on their personality.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes, if someone's personality, their energy just doesn't gel with me.
That's fine.
It just does.
We don't gel with everybody, right?
You just don't gel with everybody. Yeah. I am kind to that person, just as how I would want someone to be kind to me. And I say to them, thank you. It was nice to meet you.
But we're not going any further with this.
I don't think this is going to be going any further, especially if I meet the person online. Yes. It's like, thank you. I don't think this is going to go any further, but it was great to meet you. I hope, I don't know what you're looking for, but I hope that you find whatever it is that you're looking for. The lack of empathy.
Well, I got to read something. I'll make an admission, folks. I saw a picture of somebody on Grindr the other day, and I sent him a nice little message and said, hi there, handsome. And, you kind of think, 1 out of 12 chance that they're going to come back and say it. He actually responded. You know what he said?
Oh.
Thank you for the greeting. It's appreciated, but respectfully, I'm not interested. And then a little thumb bump. And I thought, and I thanked him. I said, no problem. Thanks for responding. That to me is that's a great attitude. You cannot feel any loneliness or rejection from a response.
That is civility, and we need more of that.
We need more of that. And I'm going to start using, I actually tried to say
we need to normalize this.
It needs to become the way we treat each other. So more empathy, more kindness, more grace, more
grace.
Yeah, how do you want to be treated?
Normalize grace on Grindr.
Ooh,
#grace.
Normalizing. That's
grace
another. That's another topic, folks. But boy, that's a beautiful line. You're coming up with all the good lines today. Usually, I'm the one with the lines.
Put that on a shirt. It is quite the thought experiment. Are we as gays so damaged by our own personal history of rejection and also jaded by some of the negative past dating experiences that we've had that we can't receive care or affection too early because you insert blank there, and this is just, thought vomit. But how many of us do we find that the moment that even if we're casually or having a very relaxed conversation with someone, and we enjoy it. The feeling is mutual.
It's delicious.
But the moment someone starts to show a deeper level of affection that is beyond surface level, then we start to pull back. We're like, no, this person's creepy. This is a red flag. This is no, I don't want this. But then you're the same person who probably you go to bed at night And you probably, and this is just me again, just making shit up, cry yourself to sleep. It is quite, I think it's self-deprecating.
I feel sorry for people that go to bed and are sad.
Well,
That's horrible.
I actually feel sorry for people who don't allow themselves to not be lonely. And there's a difference between being lonely
or alone.
Yeah. As you said, you know, you can have all the friends in the world, and I've said this to my
They're
ex,
afraid to be alone.
my ex.
They're afraid to be alone or lonely, so
You
they
can
busy
have
themselves. Is that
all,
what
they
you mean?
busy them. You can have all the friends in the world.
Yeah.
You can have all the hobbies in the world, and that is great. And it's while it is good
Does it meet your
to
inner needs?
know how to be alone, it's not a natural human posture. It is not a natural human posture.
Not on a continual basis.
Not on a continual basis. And if you find yourself in any social capacity where you don't have to be and you're choosing to be, and then you're allowing yourself to feel depressed about it, it's self-deprecating.
Boy, that's
And
heavy.
I've seen so many different discussions online, even not only on Discord, but on Reddit, where people are talking about this. It's a very real thing. One of the top comments that I see that really stood out to me, someone said, I was just reading something about this very subject. Outside of pride, I feel we're our own worst enemy. I'm 25 and lost my partner during the pandemic. I was fortunate to be with him as I was just beginning to get to feel for myself and learn about my sexuality. Although I knew I was gay, I was intimidated by the dating scene. I lacked the maturity. As a matter of fact, I still do. I don't have many gay friends. I just want to be with a sane boy again who doesn't mind going out to the grocery store and holding hands with me. And it got over 1,700 likes, I think.
That's a very modest, simple.
It's a very honest
and
answer.
Loving, and just I just want to enjoy life with somebody.
It's
right?
a very
Is that what it says?
honest, yes.
Yeah.
In essence,
yeah,
it's a very honest answer, and I believe a lot more of us falls within. And I'm not going to say there aren't people out there who are lone wolves. I'm not going to say that, but I do believe that there are more of us that falls within the realm of, or the space of, wanting to be more on that spectrum,
on the lone wolf, or with somebody.
With somebody,
yeah.
With someone who just they feel comfortable with just go to the something simple and mundane as going to the grocery store and holding hands, than people who.
But we default to the other side. We default to the lonely or alone side because in some ways it's simpler.
And that's a good. I think I heard a knock. Hold on, let me just quickly check something. But yes, another daddy, demi-centenarian.
Finally, I have a little support here.
We were actually just wrapping up a conversation about gay loneliness and talking about people defaulting on the spectrum of wanting to feel, people defaulting on the spectrum of being on the lone wolf. But even though from my perspective, there's a perceived belief that most of us really do want to fall on the end of just wanting to be in a space where they can be comfortable with someone. And as the Reddit post said, just go to the grocery store and hold somebody's hand. So, you know, I think that
unless they're no PDA type, and then, you just get to walk down the hallway together.
You know, just walking down the fresh food aisle, just feeling cold, and it's not the fridge. I want to know, you know, because you're a student of psychological behavior. You know, as we wrap up, what is your take on this? You have to speak into the mic.
Thank you for having me on
yourself.
today.
Would you like to introduce yourself, Colston?
Should I introduce my name or my nickname?
We will go with your nickname.
Sorry I outed you a second ago anyway.
I'm Colston.
AKA Madre Mayo.
Thank you. So I guess I don't feel like there's a lot of lone wolves in our community. I think that's a bit more posturing than reality. Most of us want to feel some sort of connection for whatever that means for where we are in our lives, the stages of our lives. And I think in that, when we try to find community, we generally feel happier for it.
Yes, that's the right way to put it. When we find the community, and sometimes it takes effort to find the right community where you fit in and you feel part of something. Because a lot of the gay community, I don't want to have anything to do with it, and vice versa, right? Mm-hmm. You know, but wow.
And oftentimes for multiple different reasons. As in the Black community, we like to call it the culture, and for multiple reasons, one may not feel connected or want to be of the culture, but it goes back to what was said in that Reddit comment. Although I know I was gay and I was intimidated by the dating scene, I lacked the maturity, and as a matter of fact, I still do. Again, just so honest with themselves.
You lack the maturity to
just be mature about talking to people, connecting.
Well, life takes time, doesn't it, Colston?
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
So, best of luck to you, my friends out there, for all of us who are, on the dating scene, whether you're a daddy or a son, or whether you're not dating at all, whether you're just here just trying to make a connection,
by the way, folks,
trying to be human.
I don't know what you're looking at. You're the one with the computer scrolling through all these online comments that I have no idea what it is. You could be making this all up for all I know. But anyway, it sounds good, right?
I can't with you. Norm, you know that you're always free to bring some technology with you. You have an iPad. You can bring it.
Thank you for your permission to do that.
And thank you for listening to today's episode. If you've made it all the way to the end, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Daddy and Son. If you have any questions for the show, send them over to daddyandsonpodcast@gmail.com. That's DADDYAND Son podcast@gmail.com. Until next time, sons, be good to your daddies.
And daddies, be kind to your sons.
#Grace on Grindr. Bye-bye.